There you are. Come on in. It's time for another ZeroBounce webinar. I'm Paul Leslie, content creator here at ZeroBounce, and I'm very excited about today's presentation. Today is going to be a webinar devoid of spam folder energy. I just can't wait to get this going. The cure for your click rates. First of all, I'd like to hear from you all. Where are you joining us from in this beautiful world of ours? It always blows my mind how many people and where they're joining us from. Don't be shy. Just chime in there on the comments. I should tell you that I'm on the beautiful coast of South Carolina. We've got Colorado Springs, Colorado, Bellingham, Washington, Chicago, Illinois. Look at that. Iowa City, Iowa, Tallahassee, Florida, Boulder, Colorado, Philadelphia, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, just to the north, Asheville. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Florida in the house. London, UK. I knew there was at least one international attendee. But just to go over the housekeeping, I promise it's light. Our most frequently asked question, yes, this webinar is being recorded for all posterity. You're going to be able to watch this on demand on YouTube. You'll also get a copy. And feel free, if you have any questions, whether you're from Lisbon, Portugal, like Francisco, or London, UK, like Leanne, no matter where you're from, ask your questions. We will do our best to get to them. And now it's my pleasure to present our wonderful speakers today. There's Brian Minick. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. But let's see, what are real world people saying about Brian Minick? If you're an email marketer who's ever felt overwhelmed by deliverability, Brian Minick is the guy who will break it down, make you laugh, and leave you with real tips you can actually use. Brian makes landing in the inbox feel doable. Now, doesn't that seem like the kind of guy you'd like to know? I assure you, you do. What about Emily Ryan? Here's what people are saying about Emily Ryan. Emry, as some call her, is in the top 1% of all email people. She shows you how, but she also makes you believe that you can. You've heard of Must See TV. Her 9 Things email list is must subscribe email. She's also very accessible. Connect with her on LinkedIn like I have. You will not regret it. Now you must be asking, what about Jocelyn Hardy, a native Georgian? This is what people are saying about Jocelyn Hardy. She brings in 15 years of working for Mailchimp and working closely behind Mailchimp Academy and with partners. She is literally a knowledge bank of all things Mailchimp, just all things on the ESP side, that's email service provider, and she's just a wonderful human. Now, I'm sure you all are thinking, let's get this Paul guy out of here and bring these great people on. But first, we got to go over the agenda. We're going to be covering the state of the inbox, how to create content that compels clicks. Sounds good, doesn't it? Tooling up in Mailchimp, protecting your list health, very important. And then an action plan plus some resources. So let's bring these wonderful folks on. Jocelyn, Brian, Emily. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Are you all ready to crush it?
We were born ready. We live for this. Thank you, Paul.
Well, I'll reveal the identity of those wonderful quotes in due course, but I'm going to hop off. I will reappear during the Q&A.
That's good. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Emily and Jocelyn, for doing the webinar with us today. Super excited. I think there's some good, well-rounded information here from deliverability to content and also around platform itself with Mailchimp. So super exciting webinar for us today. So we're going to kick it off with the state of the inbox. This is basically as to what's going on and what are we kind of seeing. And if I don't know, I know I'm in the middle of this and I know I'm biased, but if deliverability and AI are not the 2 biggest buzzwords that I keep hearing everywhere, I don't know what you guys are hearing because that's all I seem to be hearing about. And so, it's becoming more and more important. Well, it's not like it wasn't ever important, but it's more and more topical about making sure you're in the inbox. People are now starting to actually understand and see the challenges around being in the inbox and staying there. And I think it's something that's more top of mind today than it ever has been. And for 7 years, I've been up here pushing this concept because people think they're just in the inbox because their test list gets them into the inbox. It's not how it works. So deliverability, it's about reaching the inbox, not the spam folder, not delivered, the inbox, making sure people have everything that they are looking for from you, and they're only going to see that in the inbox. What we're seeing, which is just insane, and 2025 is probably only going to prove this to be even more problematic, is the amount of data that is churning, whether it's from churning from jobs, whether it's churning from just the amount of data people have out there, the ways that people are attempting to get this data. It's really kind of chaotic. And so what we're seeing is the amount of bad email addresses out there are just growing. So based on over 10 billion email addresses that we have seen, and that's probably in the course of 2024, it's going to be significantly higher in 2025. 28% of that is going bad, which means no one's home. Okay, just to be clear, when I say going bad, it doesn't mean like, oh, no one checks it. No. The mailbox doesn't exist. Okay, and that's going to lead to hard bounces. That's going to lead to problems, and platforms are not going to like you for that as well, by the way. Invalid emails are the main cause for hard bounces. Okay. So in other words, that 28%, almost a quarter of them, that 20%, almost 1 in 4 are going to potentially come back as a hard bounce. No bueno, by the way. Okay. This is preventable. There's no reason you should find this out after hitting send. It's so cheap, so preventable, and should be part of your process whenever you're doing email sending. I sure hope we didn't lose Jocelyn because she looks like she's spinning on my screen, but there she is. She's back. Great. Some of the stats that we're seeing. So again, you can continue to see the churn and the amount of data that's changing that we see from 2021 up through 2024. I'm a man of data, and data doesn't lie. I don't expect the trend in this chart to go the other way. I'm expecting it to continue that kind of curvature up. And a lot of the threats that we're seeing, it's not just invalid emails, by the way. There's emails that pose risk, and that's what we call the gray area. These might be do not mail emails, which we would consider these things such as group-based or role-based emails, info at, support at, sales at. These are all over a lot of people's databases. And while they might seem great because they're maybe everlasting, so it doesn't matter if somebody leaves a company, the info at email will still be seen. The issue, and where we see a lot of deliverability problems, is that they're generally going to groups of people. And more than likely, everyone on that group didn't want your email. Sorry to break it to you, especially if it's a newsletter or it's a campaign of some sort. And so they pose a lot of risk. There's times where you should take them. Maybe they're signing up for accounts. That's fine. Maybe it's just shared access. I'm sure no one loves that concept, especially as software people here on the webinar, but it's real and it exists. That doesn't mean you want to go send out your email campaigns to people like that. There's problems when you send in one email that gets 10 spam complaints. And by the way, that's a low number to some of these groups when you think about the real world. You got to watch out for them. So we recommend not sending to them. Spam traps are still a thing. It's obviously a very low percentage, which is great, but they are everywhere. Okay. And be aware of that, especially if you're doing any list purchasing, data scraping, acquisitions of companies that did bad things. If you have rogue sales teams, this is so common. It's not the marketer's fault, but the marketers and sales data are all blended together. That can cause a lot of problems. And it affects the marketers the most because sales doesn't care and sales just puts more through it. So they create the problem and continue it. Good deliverability rate. Obviously, everyone seeks 100%. You want every single one of your emails in the inbox, and I highly encourage that you attempt to get there. However, complete perfection is hard to do. 90% or higher is something that you should feel good about, by the way. You should not feel good if you're kind of under there. That means out of every 10 emails you send, only 9 are getting to someone's inbox. It's not a bad rate, but it could be better. But we're seeing people that are 30, 40, 50, 60%. They're blocked from entire networks, such as Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook. That will cause giant spikes in where those deliverability rates would be. And the average is around 83%. Again, not bad, but not great. Definitely room for improvement. The things that are going to impact your deliverability the most is going to be your deliverability kind of score or your reputation around it. And the way that that's created around you is it's either earned or deteriorated all by you. The general first and biggest thing you can do is make sure that the email list is cleaned up. Get rid of the invalid emails, the spam traps, people who are known to mark you as spam, those riskier gray emails that maybe go to groups. They are what's pumping, or what we would call like pumping bad signals into your domain, and they are tarnishing your reputation. A lot of the metrics they're looking for are bounce rate, which again should be completely preventable. Soft bounces, not so much preventable in other methods, but hard bounces, there's really no reason you should have a high bounce rate. Anything over 2% is a problem. I'd really say you should be under 1% if you're doing the right things. Spam complaint rates. This is the 0.1% metric, which is scary for anyone, by the way, because it doesn't sound very hard to do. 1 out of every 1,000 emails is considered okay to be marked as spam, which, by the way, just behavior of people could be a problem there. So even boxes such as AOL, they make it very easy to mark as spam. Gmail makes it a little bit harder. There's no like word, but it's an icon. Things like that can really get you into trouble. Engagement rates. This one is critical. This is a signal back to the mail providers that are saying, do people want this email or not? And if the answer is no, you have low engagement. It's really just actually very simple. If no one wants your emails, they're not clicking them, they're not opening them, why should they be in the inbox? It's kind of a pretty straightforward concept. When everyone gets your email, everyone opens them, everyone clicks, people reply, people forward it, you are just flooding great compliments essentially towards your domain and towards your email reputation. So it's going to be, those are some things that are really going to trigger up or down, by the way. So either one of those can really improve or tarnish your reputation. And then the email authentication and compliance. This is obviously a big one as we continue to do more security and more things around protecting the domains. So this is your SPF, your DKIM, and your DMARC, making sure everything is set up. If you are sending over 5,000 emails, which, by the way, if you're not sending over 5,000 emails, it doesn't matter. This should be all completely set up properly, including DMARC. It's only going to help you. The last one that we're seeing is when people just all of a sudden decide, well, I need to ramp up. And they just decide to go from 1,000 emails a day to 100,000 emails a day and expect this to just work. Sorry, it's not that simple. You haven't earned the trust. You haven't earned the reputation to throw that much mail into the systems. And they're going to actually think someone hacked your domain and probably either throttle you down, block you, or they're going to just put you in the spam folder because they're not really sure what's going on. Sending volume needs to be ramped up, and it needs to be ramped up consistently, and it needs to be ramped up along with good engagement. Okay, so you can't just keep sending, nothing happens, and then you send your campaign out. So these are some things that are going to be really important towards the, what's influencing your reputation. Again, positive signals and negative signals. It's a percentage game. So you want to make sure you have as many positive signals as possible. Your opens, your clicks, your forwards, favoriting, maybe putting a label on it, throwing it into a folder. You're telling the mail server that they care, that you care about that message that came in, and it's all going to kind of help you. Another actually positive signal, just to reinforce this, unsubscribes are considered a positive signal. This is a click. This is a open, a click, and it going out into a website. While you may not love it, the mail servers don't hold this against you. Okay, marking as spam is the worst signal you can get. It's pretty much as bad as it gets. Maybe mark as phishing. I'm sure that's actually worse. It should be worse. And so if your audience is engaged, it's basically telling them that your content matters and that people want it. And so the difference between being into the spam folder or the inbox is significant. I think we all know that. Many people are not checking the spam folder. 14% of people that we polled said they are never checking the spam folder. I don't know about you guys, Emily and Jocelyn. I check it only just to see how bad some of the content is in there every once in a while. I'm not sure if I should have said that, but it's just the truth. And I mean, I'm not really doing the promotion side. I'm getting blasted with stuff. If I want it, I'm going looking. but a lot of people are looking. So it's not always the worst thing also, by the way, if you send promotions around clothing or whatever it is, it's not terrible that you're in the promotions. You're actually where you're supposed to be. And so people ask me all the time, Brian, how do I get out of the promotions folder? And my answer is just so simple. Stop sending a promotion. Like if you want to be in the inbox, you need to send a notification, a newsletters, content. Promotions are promotions. Anyway, with all of that, you will get positive feedback. So once you start reaching the inbox, your readers engage, it creates this cycle that improves your deliverability, keeps your reputation high. And as you want to try maybe some things, sending more email, you'll be in a good spot to do that. So this little bit of checklist and kind of information will really help make sure that you are getting into the inbox. It's super important. It's going to be the difference between pennies and dollars ultimately for you. Emily?
Awesome. Yeah. So it's so interesting because, I'm coming from a marketer's point of view, and this all can feel very technical. But sometimes with deliverability, it really comes down to like just sending emails that people want to open and click on. And when we were first talking about this webinar, I said, you know what, it really does come down to like having people click on your emails. Like clicks are so crucial. I tend to, when I work with clients, I look more at click rates than I look at open rates. Obviously, open rates can be skewed. And so I'm often looking at like, are people engaging with my email? And so I think that is, obviously what we're going to talk about here. And how can you get more clicks on your emails? Let me see if I can go next slide, please. Yeah, and really looking like, what is your current click-through rate? Are people clicking? Sometimes it's really challenging to get a high click rate. I definitely want to see above like a 2 to 3% click rate. Obviously, the higher the better. I have clients that struggle to get to 2% click rate, which sounds crazy, but 2 to 3% I think is about the average. If you can go to the next one. So we're going to look at copy, because it really does, like the littlest change in your copy can increase clicks like crazy. And one of the most important things you can do is invoke curiosity when you write copy or when you're creating that button text. You have to give people a reason to click on your email. So many times, I'll see a long newsletter and then it'll be like, learn more. And you gave everything away in the newsletter. There is literally no reason to click on that email. So you have to give people something that makes them say, ooh, I got to see that. Like, ooh, what is that? And with my newsletter that I send on Sunday, I really try to do this. Like, how can I write it so that people are like, oh gosh, I got to see what she means. So ask yourself, how can you write something so that they'll click? Obviously, we don't want to do clickbait, just tricking people. But how can you invoke curiosity? So a lot of times when I'm doing my newsletter, I'll write like, I'm obsessed with this, and I won't say what it is. And people will click. People click on that because they want to see like, what the heck is she obsessed with? And keep it really clear and simple. You always want to write your emails like it's going to one person, because that one person doesn't know that you're sending to a list of 5,000, 20,000 people. Like whenever I look at my inbox, I'm not thinking, oh, this is going to thousands of people. Write it like it's going to one person. Very short, straightforward copy. If I were to send an email to Jocelyn at Mailchimp right now, I would want to keep it as short and sweet as possible because she's busy. You need to do the same thing with your email campaigns, short and sweet. It's always going to beat wordy, long newsletters. And I always say to people, like, delete, and then delete some more, because people just don't have time. And then obviously you want to lead with value. You want to highlight the benefits that your subscribers will gain, not just features of your product. Like, what's in it for them? What's in it for me? I try to tell people, like, talk less about yourself and more about like what's in it for them, and show them why it matters. All right, the next slide. And so now on the design side, so we work a lot with email design. And I think my number one tip that I've given for the last 10 years is to keep your email designs as simple as humanly possible. and as clear as possible. Again, like the average time people spend reading emails is like 9 seconds. It's like 9.3 or something. People just scroll down real quick and then they go to the next email. And we want to get people to click, so we need to keep it as simple as possible. Obviously, buttons, people love a button. So you want to use a really contrasting color for your button so that it stands out. Like often I'll see companies, say their brand colors are blue and green. And so they'll say, oh, well, my button needs to be blue and the heading needs to be blue. No, you want that button to pop, maybe like a bright orange. You want it to really stand out. Impossible to miss. And then I often say one call to action per email. You want them to click, you want them to take an action. So really like focus on that one thing you want them to do. Also, I love talking about white space in your emails, in your newsletters. You often want more white space than it feels right, just because it makes it a lot easier to read. So above your images, below your images, space around that button so it stands out. And then obviously you want to test an email. We just want to test as much as possible. So let's test, you could do an A/B test of 2 different button colors and see like, are we getting more clicks on the red button than the blue button? Maybe there's no difference, but it's really interesting to test. Using a text link versus an email with a button and see like which one gets more clicks. It's fascinating to A/B test this kind of stuff. And then again, talking about, which will get more clicks. I mean, I'll ask you guys, which copy here would get more clicks? If I wrote, check out this super cool Mailchimp Freddy that is made out of Legos and say I put a link on it. Or if I put, well, this is super cool and just put a link on it. Which one would you be more? I mean, they both actually sound kind of fun. So actually I would maybe test that. And then obviously being vague, like I said, some examples you could use are, I had to watch this, and they click. Subscriber will think like, wait, watch what? And then one of the best articles I've read recently, and just don't give it all away. Or you could just put loving this and link to it. So obviously these are very casual and therefore, like a personal newsletter maybe, but you can incorporate being kind of vague in your emails as well. And then I have 2 examples and then I'll turn it to Jocelyn. Here's one design example I just pulled real quick. And I just want to show because of how simple this top part is. Obviously, we call this above the fold. So when you pull up an email on your phone, before you scroll down to view the email, that's going to be what's above the fold. So looking at this, they have their button above the fold. They have a big headline, and then they have very minimal text. This, to me, I feel like I can digest this really quickly. I can look at it. I can read it real quick. The button is bright, contrasting color, like I talked about. I love these kind of emails that are simple and clear. And then the next example is very much the same. This is from Everlane. They do very simple, like minimalistic emails, but I'm a fan because again, like they don't stress me out. So I love the headline. They have a giant image. And I mean, this is a large brand and they're doing something that is so easy and so simple to create. They have like 1-2 sentences of copy and then a button. Their button's not really super contrasting, but I think it works in this case. And you can see here, this is a great white space example here. The white space above that headline there and the white space below, like lots of space around your elements. Okay, and then I think, yes, so we're going to turn it over to someone I am just so incredibly happy to have here. She's someone that I've looked up to. She's been at Mailchimp longer than almost anyone that's worked in the company, and just an incredible person. So yeah, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Emily. I really, really appreciate it and appreciate the invite too as well. Like I'll be talking about tooling up in Mailchimp. And so Emily, feel free to chime in on anything that I'm missing here, but definitely going to talk about some tools to help you get your click rates up. So next slide, if you don't mind. All right, so I'm going to be talking about tags and segments. I get that question quite a lot in Mailchimp, and obviously need to talk about it here because it's one of the most important tools in Mailchimp to help you understand your audience. And I'm a big advocate for knowing who you're sending to, right? Like those folks are really, really the people in your audience. You really need to know them, right? Like that's how I like to think. Like just knowing what they're doing, how they came in, how they're engaging with your emails is really, really key for you to understand that information. So when you're looking at your audience, like don't treat it like a huge database. Please do not treat it as a one size fits all type situation because not everybody likes the same thing. Not everybody engages the same way. Not everybody reads the email the same way. Like you have no idea. I mean, everyone is truly an individual. And so I'm going to talk about using tags versus segments. And tags are just like labels in Mailchimp. So when you're importing your contacts or if you're meeting someone on the fly, you're using your Mailchimp mobile app, you can apply a quick label and say like, hey, I met them at a recent conference. Like, let's see if they are actually engaging. Let's track them and see how we can get them to engage quickly with our emails. Or if I met someone in a webinar, I can tag folks who came through a specific webinar and see how they're engaging. But those tags are totally internal so that you can apply some labels to your audience to get to know them, to see how you can engage better, because that authentic engagement is going to be crucial for you to drive those click rates and those open rates for sure. And so one fun fact about tags is that no one can see them but you, right? So that you can apply as many tags as you need to get to know and organize your audience. And I like to say not too many tags is not too many, right? Like the more tags you have, the more touch points you have, the more tracking that you can use to actually trigger. And I'll talk about this in a little bit, some automations, right? You want to get to nurture the folks that you're bringing into your audience. You want to drive that engagement and one-to-one experiences so that you can drive some of that personalization instead of that bulk email that we are known to overlook or go to that spam folder, right? So we want to organize with a purpose. We want to make sure that we have true intention behind our audience and we're really trying to get to know everyone on an individual level. Talking about personalization as well, like that's where that segmentation will come into play, right? Not treating everyone the same way and finding some trends in your audience. And you'll be surprised, like in Mailchimp, there are some tools and insights that will level up some segmentation for you. So if you have some contacts that are really engaging and they're purchasing things, or maybe they're donating more than others, like Mailchimp is going to surface that up in your dashboard so that you can find those segments, right? So you don't have to come up with finding the best segments for you. Like leverage that artificial intelligence, like that insights that we have in our dashboards to really find your people and your fans, because not everyone is going to be a fan for the whole life cycle, right? They're going to go up, they're going to go down, just like any other relationship, right? So you have to figure out how to personalize again at the end of the day and stop using those generic one size fits all messages and really use that segmentation and filtering to figure out what works and what does not work. Then talking about automation, right? Like a lot of that is work that can be done in your sleep, right? You have to spend the time to set it up in the beginning, but even setting up a simple welcome email, right? To drive some engagement as soon as they join your audience or as soon as they join your newsletter list, like it's key, right? You don't want to come and have someone sign up for an offer or sign up for your audience and you never hear from them. Like, don't expect to start ramping up that volume and you didn't send a welcome email. Like, let me know who you are right off the bat. Let me know how to engage right off the bat.
And Jocelyn, that just to piggyback on that, a welcome email is one of the best things you can do for deliverability. It is such a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I know so many people that don't leverage that, right? Like it's like a one-click thing in Mailchimp now. That's how easy it is to do. And you get that engagement right off the bat, which we talked about positive signals earlier, like driving that positive signal and getting them into the inbox. Like that's really key because you don't want to surprise anyone like months later when you decide to get down to a newsletter. Like make sure you're using those automations. So I'll talk about that on the next slide. Oh, sorry. Before I get to that, automation is the last slide. So send time optimization. We can go to that one. Sorry. Next slide. Okay, thanks. I want to talk about one other tool before I really get down to automation. I got really excited about that. But send time optimization, besides tags, groups, and segments, is another tool in Mailchimp, and it's for our standard plans and above. But what that does, send time optimization, Mailchimp has over 10 million users. And that's a lot of users. We send 1 billion emails every weekday on average. So that means, and we've been doing that for a while, right? So we're not new to this, right? We have a lot of data and a lot of data science teams available at Mailchimp that can help provide some insights so that you don't have to guess when to send your emails, right? That's going back to that kind of foundational marketing, is like sending to the right people, the right place at the right time. So our goal here at the top, that's the first bullet, like move beyond that one size fits all timing. Like use a tool that you have, whether it's Mailchimp or whatever tool that you're using, like make sure that you go above and beyond, I'm going to send at 6 a.m. exactly when I'm done crafting this email. Well, that's not exactly when your subscribers are ready to open, right? So leverage the data science, take the guesswork out. So in Mailchimp, our send time optimization feature is going to use all the data that we have and identify when your contacts are best likely to open. All right, so you want to make sure, like sending at the right time, you get those opens, you get that click that you need to drive the impact that you're looking for. And then the more you send over time, right, the more consistent that you get, the more, again, positive signals that we get, right, to make sure that we can be more accurate for you. So the more you can accumulate those signals for us, the more we can tell you, hey, like this is a better time to send as well. And again, like send time optimization is just one piece of the timing strategy, like sending at the right time to the right people at the right place. Like in addition to send time optimization, we also have time warp. Not everybody in your audience is going to be in the same time zone. So if you want to send at 9 a.m. to someone in their particular time zone and you want to capture that as soon as they get up, like that's what time warp is going to do. Send it at 9 a.m. on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West Coast, or wherever you might be. That email is going to get there at 9 a.m. when they wake up. And then Emily talked about this as well. Is testing, always be testing. I feel like A/B testing could be its own workshop, its own webinar. We can talk about that all day in terms of click rates, but you can test like 2 different subject lines and see if that works. And Emily talked about that before. You can test 2 different types of layouts and see if that drives clicks over another one. You can test 2 different from names, and believe it or not, that they can drive some opens as well. Like having a from name from your business or having a from name from a person can be 2 different ways that you can approach an email. It looks totally different, especially on mobile devices where you want to reach people where they are. So I definitely think that you should be A/B testing like every single email that you possibly can. You should be learning from every time you hit that campaign, that send button, right? We need to experiment. And that's what marketing is all about. It's a series of experiments for us to learn. You're not going to get it always right the first time, right? But you take every campaign as a lesson learned to drive those click rates. Next slide. All right, so this is one of the things I really like to get into is automation to drive click rates, like using the tools that will help you build emails and drive engagement while you're working or while you're sleeping, right? Like, those are some easy wins that you can do. And so you want to make sure whatever provider that you're using, that you're leveraging automation in addition to your regular campaign sends. So we talked about your welcome series, leveraging just a simple welcome. Maybe that's 1 email, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3 that you spread out as soon as your subscribers join the list, but it's driving that engagement, it's setting that expectation, it's nurturing, like it's a date, right? I consider this is like a real date that you're having with people. Like you want to make sure you get to know people slowly and set expectations, like I mentioned before. You can use the tags as triggers to really get granular, really get to that level of personalization that you need. So like I said, if you meet someone at a conference, you can send them their own nurturing series, something totally different than someone who would sign up on your website, right? Treat someone different, just totally based on sign up source, which is something easy and simple to do. But it's a great way. Take some legwork up front, but it's a great way to get that engagement right off the bat. And then just keeping an eye on your analytics and your reports, like looking at inactivity, looking at your engagement and saying like, hey, if folks aren't interested anymore, before you remove them from the list, give them a chance to engage, right? Maybe send a survey or an incentive, one last little hoorah before you remove them. So that those are a couple of ways that you can engage people, drive those click rates, but it's all a life cycle. Again, it's all about building relationships. Emily, any feedback on that? Any extra tips you want to give?
No, I mean, I get so many requests for re-engagement, and I think that's a great thing to be talking about here with ZeroBounce. That's usually when I recommend that we use ZeroBounce because, I mean, everyone has inactive contacts. Everyone has someone on their list that has not been opening. So I think it's important to also really think about list validation when you're looking at that.
Absolutely.
That was awesome. Jocelyn, good stuff in there as well. Emily, you too. But I'm just like the A/B testing. The only thing I would add here, and of course I agree with you, by the way, you can go nonstop on A/B testing. I think it's hard to A/B test. Of course, you can A/B test like subject and whatnot. But to me, A/B testing on like a welcome series is never ending. So once you find something that's good, you should go back, A/B test that one that performed highly, put something new in there. We do a lot of stuff like that, even for like ads, right? Where if you're constantly, people are hitting this funnel, A/B testing is not A/B done. It's kind of A/B, let it run, send another version, get someone else. By the way, here's a pro tip. Go get someone else on your team to give you another version because they're thinking differently than you. I'm not saying it's gonna work great, by the way. That's my disclaimer. Don't send me the email or the LinkedIn message that it failed miserably. But what if it succeeds? And so I think that's kind of the concepts that we even do here at ZeroBounce. So that was great stuff, Jocelyn. Thank you.
Awesome.
On the protecting of your list health, I think we all know that this is important. We all know this is playing a role in your deliverability, and your deliverability is what's going to drive your click rates. Some of the things that are super important, and I'm actually even more excited for today because this is the first time I've ever talked about this topic with someone that can truly validate it, which would be you, Jocelyn, which is everybody that has these mailing platforms, they know when you are purchasing lists. Okay. They absolutely know. I don't know how else to say this besides straight down the pipe here. They know because not only have you uploaded that list, but hundreds of their other customers. By the way, 10 million customers is no joke. And if you don't think they have big data teams and evaluation processes, they absolutely do. And you might say to yourself, but why do they care? And I think that's the looming question there for a lot of people. Why do they care? Well, because you can really tarnish their infrastructure that they spend a ton of money on, staffing to make sure that their great customers who are doing the right things are in the inbox. Companies and providers they play a role in your deliverability and things that are outside of your control as a sender. What you are in control of is the quality of the data that you bring in, the campaign and everything around it, your subjects, trying to increase that engagement. And by the way, when they like you, that's a good thing. And you can actually be in great infrastructure as part of that. And if you're someone that's really someone that causes problems, I'll politely say it that way, why do they want to go and like figure out anything with you? I mean, I'm sure they're going to provide you support. But at the end of the day, if you keep just offending these problems, you're part of the problem, by the way. And so they really want to be on your side, but don't make it difficult for them by putting up it's like cheating on a test and you put word for word the answer of a handwritten, I don't know how else to describe this. It's very clear when you purchase a list. So be careful of that. The other stuff I've talked a little bit about. One of the other things that's also very good as well on the good kind of versus risky is on the sign up forms. You can also do validation there. So, and that's the best place to do it if you're on a collection process. So while you have the user, and I don't care what form it is, whether it's, however the form is built, doesn't matter. Validation can be tied to it and it's instant. And part of it is catching typos, catching the bad emails that are coming in the first place. Because by the way, when you get a typo from a customer, not once have they ever thought they typoed their email. What they think is you don't know what you're doing. You never sent the email. I never got the promo. I'm gone, or I'm going somewhere else, right? Whatever your business is. So typos, catching that with the user, especially if you have mobile traffic, which we all know is significant today, especially if you're a B2C. Typos are a big kind of thing there. You want to make sure you're getting it. Also, the spam complaints. Again, we have the ability at ZeroBounce to detect people who are more than likely to mark you as spam if they're not expecting your email. So these are things you want to pay attention to. They don't help you, and they're really just going to chop your knees out. So pay attention to this. The last one on the invalid side, this is kind of slightly off topic for click-through rates, but a powerful moment in invalid email, especially if you catch it in B2B. If a good business email goes to invalid, that is a ABM gold mine. Okay. You need to take that trigger and then go find out where they went on their new company and go find the replacement. And all of that can be done without sending an email to a bounced message, to a bounced recipient. So think of the power of that and trigger some workflows on that as well. That's a little B2B pro tip. And with that, I'm going to kick it back to you, Emily.
Awesome. I was just typing in the chat that about spotting typos. It's really hard. Like if you have a large list and you're trying to find the emails with typos, it's very difficult. But I will sometimes pull the bounce report from a campaign and look at some of the bounces and the reasons why they bounced. And you can sometimes I sometimes will find typos there, but honestly, like running them through ZeroBounce is what I recommend because it's just the quickest and the easiest option. Okay, so here are my next steps for you real quick. Take a look at your recent campaigns that you've sent, the last couple, and really look at the email and determine how you could simplify your copy and your design. So what sections do you absolutely do not need to have in that email for that particular call to action that you could maybe delete? How could you cut it down? How could you get the buttons up higher? Just take a look. First of all, just a little audit of your campaigns. And then I would say start with one thing. Pick one thing to adjust that we talked about in your copy and one thing in your design. And then consider testing that against your typical email campaign. So take what you've been doing, create a new version that's maybe shorter, maybe has a brighter button color, and test it. Test for click rates. So test which will get more clicks. So I'm not saying to go crazy and redesign your whole newsletter. Start with something small and just make an adjustment. Yeah. And then I think Jocelyn's next steps are coming up on the next. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So this one is just a little recap of what I talked about. And I'm just going to start at the bottom bullet point is just saying just think smarter with your segmentation, right? And just really, really dig deep on relevancy, right? Like making sure that you're sending the right message to the right people. I keep saying that. Don't forget to leverage those signals that we talked about, like any engagement activity or non-activity, like leverage all of that information, take it in and look at the life cycle and segment by that as well. Just look at all the data that is available to you to make sure that you're learning more, you're engaging more, and you're trying to figure out what works and not working to get that testing strategy, right? Like that's what Emily was talking about. It's really just testing and figuring out what works and doesn't work. I will say another pro tip for me is to connect your important data sources. Like I don't know, that seems like a low-hanging fruit, but a lot of people don't know that you can connect more than one CRM, to Mailchimp for sure. Like if you're using Shopify, right? Or if you're using an e-commerce platform, or if you're a nonprofit, connecting everything that you have so that you can get those signals and you can figure out where folks are coming from and seeing like, hey, where are my most loyal fans? It may be that you need multiple collection centers to figure out, who is actually engaging in my emails to figure that out. Building a subscriber preference center is another way that I didn't talk about earlier before, but that's another pro tip that I have is just like letting your contacts choose what kind of content they want to receive from you, right? Instead of you assuming, like, let them tell you, like, is it just a newsletter they want to receive? Or is it just notifications? Like, or is it announcements about workshops? Like, just let them know, hey, you have the option to choose. And so that you can figure out what's going to be most engaging for you. And then, just focus on deliverability. We've been talking about that this whole time. There's no point to me sending email that, if you're not going to follow best practices to get in the inbox, right? Like you have to follow all of these things. It seems like a lot, but these are very foundational concepts that will help you be a better marketer and help you get to the inbox. But those are all of my tips. So you can go to the next slide.
Awesome. And they're great tips. Some of the tips on the deliverability side, obviously validate your list. We've kind of beaten a horse with that one. Monitoring your sender reputation. This is underrated, not utilized enough. Google Postmaster tools, in my opinion, is the best place to do this. We're also going to start bringing this into our platform. So it's going to be another kind of component and some of the things that we're doing on the ZeroBounce side. But postmaster.google.com, it asks you to add a little DNS record to your domain. It's super simple. You don't have to be overly technical to do it. You just need access. And then it's going to be able to help monitor your domain health, your IP health, your spam complaint rates, all of these things. It is the most basic looking dashboard I've ever seen in my life, but it's very powerful for anyone that knows. Emily, I'm hoping that smile means you've seen this as well and you know what I'm talking about. Super powerful and, very easy to understand. It's very direct as to what it is. Authentication of your emails, again, incredibly important right now. It's only going to ramp up. So this is not the time to go, it's not that important. You're late, by the way. If you don't have DMARC set up, you are late. You are behind the 8 ball, and people are going to outpace you as a result of this. DMARC, SPM, and DKIM, or SPF, sorry, and DKIM. If you have no idea what I just said, by the way, that's okay. Please come talk with our team. We will help you get it set up. We offer DMARC monitoring. It's not a big deal. And it's basically just making sure that the emails you send are authenticated, meaning they should be coming from you. You're telling the mail world they're coming from you and that they should accept them because you're signing that they came from you. It's really kind of an important part. Making sure you're doing any warm up now, by the way. If you're going to start doing things around Black Friday or, that's your time of the year, Q4, by the way, it's not a good time to start ramping up email in Q5. Okay. Q4 is the time where everything is going. Yes, maybe bad joke. I'm sorry. I've had way too much coffee today. But warming up your domain is very powerful. It's going to allow a few things. Number one, it's also going to be able to help boost some of your engagement, your signals, which will let you send more. And then it's going to tell the mail servers they're ready for your volume that's changing. I talk to a lot of customers. They are potentially, maybe they're tax, maybe they are, clothing or apparel or goods. And Black Friday is their Super Bowl. Okay. And I'm sorry, but anyone that knows sports knows enough that they didn't just start practicing the day before the Super Bowl for the Super Bowl. They've been practicing all year and they've been ramping up and keep going. And so you have to be ready for these big events. You can't just decide to wing it. Okay. Warming up and getting some volume on your domain is going to be important. Safeguarding your forms is that other piece that I was talking about with having validation on it. Make sure the data coming in is clean in the first place. Okay, because you also don't want to start storing these contacts. You're kind of paying to store garbage. Imagine that. So why get that? Make sure you get it in the first place. And a little bit just back on warm up real quick. If you have issues and you have damage, there's warm up tools that can also help do it. We offer it, and there's other places out there that are doing this. We can help kind of repair any of the deliverability problems that you may have by starting to create some positive engagement signals for you. Some valuable resources. 2 of the pieces that we talked today, there's QR codes here. Feel free, take them away. They are our email list decay report. So this is what we're seeing around the email churn in the industry, and then the email deliverability guide. If anything about what I talked about is resonating with you about ramping up and you're like, oh, this is the first time I've heard about this, or I don't know what this is, what should I do? That ultimate email deliverability guide is going to give you all of the great content there that will help tell you how to do things. Also, we have a very good integration with Mailchimp. And so big Mailchimp fan as well. We push tags into the Mailchimp account so that you can do things in your automations and be able to kind of, set it and forget it in a sense. So we can go back through every 30 days, every 90 days and revalidate the data in Mailchimp. There's no file transferring. There's no imports, exports. We handle everything. You just connect it and off you go. There's also a Zapier integration. However, I don't know why you would use that over our native one, but we do have that as well if that's something that might be of interest to you. That QR code is a great place to get it. And I think Sam just posted it as well in the chat. And Emily, what do you got?
Oh, yes. If you want more on email marketing and random other tips, you can subscribe to my Sunday email. And yeah, it's really fun.
Awesome. All right.
Okay. We have some really brilliant questions here from everybody. Thank you all for submitting questions. We are going to try to give you the answers that you deserve. Okay. Let me pull up that first question, which I believe was from Faith. There we are. And let's remove this. Okay, so Faith asks, how many emails would you recommend we send from any one email box per day? My email service says 30, but that seems low and designed to make them more money setting up more email accounts. What do you all think?
I don't know who's taking this, but I'm laughing. I think that's 100% accurate. Like, come on, I sent 30 emails in the last hour, like to people. You know, that's off. Unless this is cold email and you're really trying desperately not to have problems and fly very under the radar, maybe. But if you're in campaigns, I mean, what is going to take you a month and a half to get a message out? So no, this is off. For me, it's about how many can you send? How many are the mail servers expecting from you? What are you, by the way, if you have 3,000 and that's what you want to send, you can probably start, that's not crazy. You can get there very quickly within a week. But there's really not a number. I think that's the concept that is helpful for people to understand from my point of view. There's not a number of emails you can send in a day or a week. It's more about, are the mail servers anticipating this? I mean, think about huge companies out there like Costco, Delta. How many emails do you think they are sending a day? And are they sending 30 per account? Absolutely not. So build your reputation up and get a good kind of schedule there. That's my 2 cents. There's no limit on how many you should be sending.
30 emails. All right. So this comes from Amanda. Do these systems see a distinction between unsubscribes via link or unsubscribes via the Apple Mail button at the bottom?
Ooh, that is a good question. Mailchimp can't do that at the moment. We can't tell you where you unsubscribe from. We can just tell you that person has unsubscribed in the time. But that is huge to be able to do that. Emily, have you seen any?
I was just going to add that a lot of clients have seen an increase in unsubscribes lately because of the new Gmail feature, that the managed subscriptions feature, which I shouldn't tell you guys about because I don't want y'all to know about it. But you can easily unsubscribe now from a lot of emails. So yeah, just something else to think about.
Karen says she's interested in learning more about the inbox unsubscribe in Apple Google.
I mean, the only thing I can say here is I think put yourself in the shoes of Apple, Google, and these mail providers, right? And that's how you also should be thinking about some of your campaigns. Their job is to make sure that people are receiving messages that they want and are interested in. Plain and simple. That's what it comes down to. And that's where the engagement falls back. And that's the correlation behind engagement and deliverability. If people want your email and they're engaging with it, you're in the inbox. It's really kind of simple. But around learning about it, I think this is what they're trying to do is give more control back to users to determine if they still want email from these people, yes or no. There are, not all of us are marketing and tech gurus, like we are here on the call and you guys here in the audience. You're talking about a huge audience of people that maybe don't know unsubscribes exist, or they are so tiny on the mobile phones and things of this nature, they don't know how to get to it. They tried to click it. Now they clicked your homepage. Now they're even more mad because they clicked the button instead of the unsubscribe. Most people don't even know what that means. They just see something clear from the actual mail provider, the mail service, and they're utilizing that to create the unsubscribe. I don't think it's a problem. The only problem I've ever seen and experienced with unsubscribes is rage unsubscribing, which is You wake up one day and there's just too many emails in your inbox. And I've done this before. Maybe I had a bad night. Kids drove me crazy this morning and I just unsubscribed from everything. Like, I've had it. That would be the only time where I feel bad for the people on the other side here, where they didn't really do anything. It's just bad timing. But they're trying to make it easy for their users, because if everyone wakes up every day and there's 1,000 messages in their inbox and they can't ever control that, they're going to abandon the mailbox. And that's what they don't want.
I would pay to see you rage unsubscribing, Brian. What does that look like?
It's a lot of really fast slapping the screen with my hand, like the mobile. I only do it on mobile because it centralizes all of my email. I have all these accounts everywhere, but yeah, it's real. It's a real thing.
So Tony wants to know, does anyone else on their personal Gmail find that Google is asking if you want to unsubscribe from an email that you, quote, haven't opened in a while, when you literally just clicked on that company's email the day before?
I haven't seen that.
Has that happened?
That's interesting. I haven't seen that.
It's a good test. Might test it.
I'm wondering if there's a correlation there to the from email address. So if you're potentially, the from is, I don't know, welcome, and your newsletter is coming from newsletter at, if there's a difference on the from address, that might be something to look into, where you might want to consolidate some of your froms.
Interesting. All right. So then Manisha asks, I'd love to hear from anyone about the I'm obsessed with this for a professional audience. I
Yes.
love it, but it won't work in an academic audience. So says Manisha.
I totally agree. Although you do have to remember, even if it's an academic audience, these are still human beings who are, many of them like to laugh. Many of them like interesting things. So I think there's a way to still word things professionally that make people want to click. Even if this says, an article we've really enjoyed lately or something, just not giving away the whole thing so that people will click over. I'm always trying to think, like, how can I word this to get people to click? So I think there are plenty of ways to do that in a professional audience as well. I'm
going to be the bad guy. Why can't you say that in a professional audience? Why can't you say, I'm obsessed with this and it's a formula in math? Like, why can't you be obsessed with it? Challenge some of this stuff. Like, why not? Why can't you? I mean, maybe sure, if it's graduation letter, maybe not the best time, to send something like that. But if it's to your class, why not?
Or putting we're obsessed with this. Like if ZeroBounce sent an email,
sure.
This is a tool that we're obsessed with. Period.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally something you can A/B test. I mean, if you want to be risky with it, just test it with 10%, and see. And hey, look, I tried this really cool, voice and tone, and look, we got way more engagement. So it can give you, proof to keep going and be outside the box, I think. So I'd say try it. I'm with y'all.
That's such a huge point too. Like you can A/B test with 10%. You can say, let's just try this with a little sample of people. I think that's a great point.
You may not know until you test. Amanda asks, is a button or image going to affect the deliverability?
I like this question.
That's a good question. With a button, I mean, not really. I think what's actually more important here on the button or image. Now, if your whole email is images, the only people I know pulling this off, I don't know how they're doing it. I'm so curious. And if you are on here, please reach out to me, is Costco, because they send an email that is like 100 scrolling pages, all full of images, and it's inbox every time. And it just blows my mind. I think the bigger thing to think about with buttons and images is not the image itself. Don't recommend having a full email as just an image, or the button itself. Everyone expects a button, so that's not going to be a problem. It's actually the URL behind the button and the image. So where does that button go? And by the way, if you're going to link shorteners, or you're going to any sort of place outside of the Mailchimp for tracking, or whatever your ESP is, if you're going to those short URLs, Google used to do them, I think they stopped, those are immediately going to the spam folder. So if you're trying to put links out, and by the way, sometimes it might just link out to a website an external website, but that whole website has a reputation problem, that will absolutely affect your deliverability if you're going to an external place. And then the image hosting is something that can play a role. So if you're, like, try to put the images on your website and do linking from there, or if it's, uploading a Mailchimp and then they're hosting it, that's probably all fine. But most likely your issues on deliverability for images and buttons are going to come from the URL that's behind that.
I'm weird. I read my emails without images turned on because I can see
You
the
are
emails.
weird.
Yeah, I am weird. And the buttons render, but the images don't. Like, I need to get to the content clicker. I don't really care about the, what everything looks like. So, I mean, I do, but I'm just saying, like, the buttons definitely get me to click if I need to get to something fast. So, I mean, and that helps deliverability. So I don't know. I mean, there are not too many weirdos like me, but I would say that in rendering, people do, turn images off.
I love those plain text emails personally.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Nigel says, send time optimization keeps recommending nighttime sends, 1 a.m., 5 a.m., etc. Can that be right?
I'd say it's pretty fairly accurate. I mean, if you've been consistent, I would say, with your sends for that, for sure. I mean, one thing I would love to know about your audience is, what are you selling or what are you sending? Like, I'm curious now to know about your audience. I met someone that was selling like baby clothes, and she sent at night because that's when moms are up. Like, believe it or not, that's when she sold the most. And she was normally sending in the morning, but she used SGO, and she was like, I'm going to send at night because mamas are up, So I don't know. I'm curious to learn more about your audience, Nigel.
Yeah, let us know, Nigel. Another one from Manisha. Has anyone had send time optimization and Mailchimp really work? Ooh. We have an audience of 3,000 and it tells us 10 p.m. and that's not true. So we send at 8 a.m.
I think too, you have to, with send time optimization, you have to give 48 hours or it's not always accurate. You need a 48-hour window in order to use that feature. And so what I'll typically do is say I want to send an email tomorrow on Wednesday. I'm going to look at what they recommend for next Wednesday so that it can give me the answer, and then I'll go ahead and schedule for tomorrow. I use it all the time. I find it very accurate.
Well, we did not get to all the questions. We are going to have to wrap up, but we are going to do our best to answer any. If you need to get in touch, please don't hesitate. We do our best to answer any questions that may be lingering in your head. But thank you all so much. I've learned so much and I've enjoyed this so much.
Me too.
Me too. Thank you, Paul. This was so fun.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
So bye, guys.
All right. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you on the next webinar.